Hi everyone, it's Paul with you once again from Keyboard World. And as you may notice this time as we go through the content of this video, we're not actually live today. Unfortunately, I'm in the sunshine in Spain as I speak to you here on this video. I mean, somebody's got to do it, haven't they? So, but yeah, we thought we'd bring you some content while we're on holiday. So we've pre-recorded this little session. And what's lovely for me is that I haven't got to do any work today because our very good friend and my colleague, Andy Carvill's popped by, and he's got some really, really interesting things to show you, based all around the song Moon River. Now, don't panic if this is not your type of music. We're talking about the approach to making arrangements and how you can actually change arrangements, maybe alter the timing, and how we can embellish an arrangement a little bit. So, I know you're going to enjoy this. So, without further ado, I will remove myself from this seat, and the next time you see us, hopefully Andy will be back in this seat and he'll be taking you through his little webinar all about Moon River.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you for that pleasant introduction there, Paul. Thank you very much indeed. In the sun, just wallowing around, enjoying himself. What a life it is here at Keyboard World. Marvellous. So what is today's topic all about? Paul mentioned I'm using a song called Moon River. He also mentioned, quite rightly, that if you don't play Moon River or don't like Moon River, we're just talking about some theories that we can apply to songs of that sort of style. And probably the main thing we're actually going to do is change time signatures. So there are some ways, some techniques that we're going to explore today where you can change Moon River, which is probably the world's most famous waltz. It's a waltz. It's in 3/4 time. But we can use some different time signatures just to make the song feel a bit different. So Paul is now going to put up the very basic arrangement of Moon River, which is in 3/4 time. It's also in the key of C. Now, the key signature is a bit irrelevant, and to be honest, whatever sounds I use are also a little bit irrelevant. We're focusing here to begin with on just the time signature. As we progress, we're actually going to look at some phrasing and some little added ornaments. We're even going to extend the chords a little bit. But here's the basic version. It's 3/4 time. It's a waltz. Now, just for your information, just so you know what's going on here, I've selected the English waltz, which is a very straightforward waltz rhythm. I'm going to use a clarinet sound, just because it's there. It's suitable. It's the right sort of sound. And the waltz rhythm, very straightforward. It's a simple. It's a simple, straightforward waltz style. Now, in a waltz, what you would usually do is play the melody very smoothly. And that's what we're going to do in this 3/4. This is the usual version of Moon River. You'll notice as we go through these different time signatures that we're going to look at, that actually the phrasing and the feel of the melody line actually changes quite a lot. And by the time we're going to be doing a swing version, yes, we're going to be doing a sort of swingy type version of Moon River, we're actually going to be not so smooth. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive, and we're going to be sort of using our own interpretation for the feel of the melody line. More of that in a moment, but let's just play Moon River sort of as it's written here. This is the normal arrangement of Moon River. It goes a little bit like this. so on and so on. Now, just before we move away from this sort of basic version, I just want to point out a couple of the chords, and also just a couple of points of the genius of the composer, which of course was the very great Henry Mancini, one of the greatest songwriters of all time, one of the greats. The chords, to begin with, start off very, very simple and very straightforward. We've got a C, A minor, an F, to a C, but here we have something interesting. Now that's a B minor 7 flat 5. My goodness, I can almost hear the panic as you read that particular chord. Now, we have covered flat 5 chords before now, okay? If you can't play that B minor 7 flat 5, you can actually play it as a D minor, just a D minor chord. But if you play D minor here, in this inversion, which is F, A, and D, to change it into that B minor 7 flat 5, which sounds so complicated and so difficult, all you actually do is you play your D minor chord and add the note of B. That's all you do. It's no more complicated than that. So your D minor is, in this inversion, this way round, is F, A, and D. So there. Okay. If I add the B, now we've talked a lot about 2-5-1s in the past. I don't know if you've ever seen any of our videos talking about 2-5-1s. If you have, this is a fantastic example of a 2-5-1 in a minor key. You see, the 2 bars after that B minor 7 flat 5, we have an A minor. So we've got the B minor 7 flat 5, which is the 2 chord of A minor, leading to E7, which is the 5 chord of A minor, which leads to A minor. But actually, it moves on pretty quickly. It's just the genius of Henry Mancini. It doesn't stay in A minor. The next chord you've got is a C7. So you're actually sort of shifting keys slightly, although there's no change to the key signature or anything along those lines. But where the tune, from a chord point of view, gets really interesting is just in a few bars. And we start to see chords like B flat 7 turn up. Then we've got an F sharp minor 7 to a B7 to an E7 to an A. These are chords which are out of the C major scale, out of the scale chords for C, but they just sound fantastic. And the genius of great composers like Henry Mancini is that they can make all of these chord progressions work so well. So let's just review that. From the A minor there, we've got an A minor, C7, F, B flat 7, to C, to F sharp minor 7, to B7, E minor 7. Just the genius of these composers. I digress slightly, if I'm being honest with you. The reason I've talked about the chords is, you'll see in the second version that we're actually going to look at this, I've actually changed some of the chords and just made them slightly more advanced, added some relatively straightforward chord extensions. So for example, the first chord of C, I'm making a C major 7, and it just adds a level of sophistication. Now, if all these chords cause you terrible, terrible fear and desperation, you don't have to play them. We try to focus here on Keyboard World the things that actually make songs sound better, why professional players sound better than home amateur players. One of the big reasons is the chords they play, and we'll see in a moment that just some simple additions, a little bit like that B minor 7 flat 5 where we just added a B note, we just added the B, that's all we're going to be doing, is we're going to be adding some more notes into those individual chords. Okay, now I'm going to stay with this 3/4 version just to show you a simple variation, and that is I'm going to change the time signature into a 6/8 time signature. Now, I haven't done any score on this version because 6/8 frankly is very closely related to 3/4. If you divide 6 in half and the 8 in half, you've got 3/4. It's just that you are actually counting 6 beats in the bar instead of 3 beats in the bar. So I've now just changed the rhythm. I'm going to stick on that clarinet sound. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we do. But the rhythm is now doing this. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Now, the effect that has actually on the melody is that it doubles up the amount of beats. So that first note of G there, which is a dotted minim, instead of it being 3 beats, now in 6/8 it becomes the full 6 beats. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Probably better than me clicking my fingers. Let's actually use the style. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll just change up the gear. Etc, etc. So all I did there, by the way, when I said let's change up a gear, I moved from variation 1 on the style up to variation 3, just to give it a bigger style. That's the sort of way, and it needs to be more planned out than I did it. I just did it completely off the top of my head there. But think about where you want to make those sort of changes, because the variations of the styles do make arranging a piece of music a lot more interesting. It's certainly worth using those, along with things like drum breaks and fill-ins and all of those type of things. So now we're going to go a little bit out there, and we're going to look at now a 4/4 version of this particular tune. There it is. In fact, it's appeared as if by magic from my beautiful assistant here, Mr. Carmen. Isn't it marvellous? Now, as I indicated in the earlier in the video here, changing to 4/4 really does change the feel of the tune. Let me just set up a different setting here, and I'm going to use a different sound now, because it's actually quite appropriate that we do use a different sound. And the sound I'm going to use is a jazzy organ sound. And this is going to make this tune into a jazzier type of tune. Okay. Now here on this particular sheet in 4/4, we have 2 versions. The first half of the song, which is what we've been playing all the way up to now, is basically still written as per the waltz score. But the second half of the song, which we haven't explored until now, I've done 2 things. I've done these extra chord extensions, so the C becomes a C major 7, an A minor becomes an A minor 7, the F becomes an F7. Now, there's lots of 7th chords, I should say, in this particular version. They don't have to be, and don't think that you can always just add a 7 and it makes things sound good. It's a little bit more scientific than that. But these are not particularly difficult chords to learn. But the first thing I want to tackle before we get onto the actual chords is the feel of the song. Now, 3/4 to 4/4 does a very obvious thing. You've got an extra beat in every bar to fit the melody in. So the melody changes slightly from a timing point of view. As I've sort of hinted at, suddenly this is not smooth anymore. It's not as smooth as the waltz rhythm or the 6/8 version. They should be played smoothly. It works the best for those particular styles. But this becomes a little bit different. So let's just listen to the style first. This is just the style play. Now I'm going to sing this in my head, and I'm not going to sing it to you. Well, I might just hum it. So moon, river. My singing is terrible, so I do apologise for that. But that really helps me get the feel of how the song should go in this completely new rhythm. You'll have also noticed that actually the tempo of the style has gone up a little bit. It's actually faster. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you play the tune faster, because, of course, you've got this one extra beat in every bar to get in. Okay, so there are a few subtleties here. There's some subtleties, but it does work very well. And actually, Moon River makes a really nice swing rhythm. So here we go. This is just the first half again before we get onto the second half, where we've done some more detailed changes. You probably noticed there, the right hand melody becomes a little bit freer. We've talked about this in the past as well, and it's one of those odd subjects in music that are really difficult to outline any definite rules. But I'm playing in a jazzier, freer, more syncopated. I don't know whether you remember me using syncopated in the past, but I'm sort of pushing the timing of each of the individual notes slightly, even that they're different. If I play that very square, let me do that very square. As the name suggests, or as I suggested there, that does sound very square. Let me syncopate it, and I'll perhaps overemphasize the syncopation here so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to cut that first note, I'm going to cut it short. That's coming across that actually it's still Moon River, but it sounds a bit jazzy, a little bit different. I'm not playing the notes exactly as they're written from a timing perspective. I'm putting some dots in, I'm putting some rests in, I'm making things just what is known in the trade as swing a little bit. The melody is swinging along. Okay? Now let's take a look at the second half of the song. We'll play the whole thing in just a moment. Now I've done two things here in this second half. I've added some extra ornaments, little bits into the melody line. Now this also works in the 3/4 version, by the way. Some of these things do. But with 4/4, because you've got that extra note to get into each bar, you've got a little bit of an extra sort of time, a little bit of extra gap where you can put things. Now let me just play you the first bar well, the first couple of bars, because one bar doesn't really sort of fit in context. But it says the chord is C major 7, and the melody note is G, and then I've put an F sharp G. So I've done this. I'll do that again. And I've got an F sharp. And then look what I've done in the rundown. Instead of just running down the 4 notes, I've done this. Yeah? And I put a little extra phrase in here. And I've put some extra notes in here. Nice and easy. I've now put the rundown, made it a little bit more interesting still. Different variation here. Fine. So I've embellished those melody notes to again add to this sort of swing feeling of the song. So the second half of this tune goes like this. We're making the whole thing sound, in my opinion, you may not agree, and I completely understand that. If you don't like what I've done here, it's not a problem. But I'm just trying to make it sound a little bit more interesting, rather than the basic 3/4, or indeed the first half of this 4/4 version that we have here. So, shall we play the whole thing? Shall we play the whole thing? Why not? In 4/4. So, I'm going to now add something new here. I'm going to add an introduction. Now, again, this is another topic that we've talked about in the past. And what I'm going to do is, I could obviously use one of the automatic introductions. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. They're usually extremely good, very good. Unfortunately, they tend to do the same thing, and it's possible over a period of time, and I'm talking a few years here, that you just get a little bit fed up of the same old introductions. Okay, now I'm going to do an introduction based on the final 4 bars at the very end of this tune. Okay, if you look there, the final 4 bars start on an A minor 7 with a C melody note. We then go to a D minor 7, and we've got an F and a D note. Then while we're holding that D note, we've got a G7 chord, and we finish up on C with a C major 7 chord. Now, I could actually just play that. That would work as an introduction. I'm going to get a little count in. This is intro 3, which is just a count in. Okay, it's going to do this, and then I'm just going to play those last 4 bars and go into the melody, and you'll see that it works. 2, 3, 4. Fine, great, that's no problem. But I want to do something a bit more interesting than that, being frank about it. So this is where we actually call on, we bring back our good old friends, chord notes. Do you remember that? We've talked a lot about chord notes. We talked about how to improvise. We did a video about that, which was talking a lot about chord notes. Now, a simple way of making that introduction seem more interesting, and I am just making this up now, just on the spur of the moment, is I've got an A minor 7 chord. Now, the A minor 7 chord is made up of the notes of A, C, E, and G. Okay. Now, for that first bar where I'm playing an A minor 7 chord, I can use any or all, any combination of those chord notes, the A, C, E, and G, in that bar. And then I can change it to a D minor 7. D minor 7 is D, F, A, and C. And I can use any combination of those notes in any order that I want to, in any timing patterns that I want to. And then I can change it to a G7, G, B, D, and F, and I can use any of those notes in any way to the C. Okay, so let's see what comes up. We'll have a little introduction again. Actually, it's 2 bars. I was wrong when I said it was 1 bar counting. It's 2 bars, this particular one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I was getting a bit flash there. That's the final run through. And all I was doing there is extending those little embellishments that I've actually put into the melody. I'm using the more advanced chords, which hopefully sound a bit more interesting, tickle the old ears just a little bit more than the basic chords. But everything I was doing there is based upon the theories that we've actually talked about. Now, just the final word, you don't have to use Moon River. If you don't like Moon River, that's fine. Let's choose another song, Charade, actually also by coincidence by Henry Mancini. How weird is that? I could change Charade into a 4/4. So here's it's just a variation. This doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. And there are some waltzes which, just because of the nature of the melody line, it's really difficult to do it. A song that I play is called Summer Nights, and it goes like this as a waltz. Okay, it's got a very flowing melody line, lots of quavers. I can't make that melody line work so well in 4/4. It works. I have to dot everything and make it all sound a bit, but it changes the nature of the song so much that to my ears it really doesn't actually work so well. So choose your song, try it. Frankly, if it doesn't work, don't do it. It doesn't matter. We can go the other way, and we can actually change songs that are in 4/4 to songs that are in 3/4. If you wanted to do that, just one example very, very quickly. I'm just going back to my waltz rhythm here. So I've now got a little clarinet, and we can have a little waltz rhythm playing. Let's just put the rhythm on. I'm going to turn the tempo up a little bit if I can remember how to do it. This is over here. That's probably better. We're getting there. We're getting there. So there's an old George Gershwin number, I Got Rhythm. It's usually a fast up-tempo swing, 4/4. It works as a waltz. Again, changing from 4/4 to 3/4 doesn't always work. Try these things, experiment, give them a go. And that's what we try to encourage here. Do give them a go. So there we are. I hope you found that interesting. Now, just a little shout out for Keyboard World. If you haven't done so up to now, if you'll see at the bottom of this video, I think, which is going to be on YouTube, you should see a subscribe button. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It really helps everybody here to work with YouTube on a much more close basis. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you found that interesting.
Andy, thank you so much for that. And as Andy said, I hope that's been a little bit thought-provoking for you. All we're asking, as Andy said, really, is for you to think about things. Don't just open a piece of music, dive on your keyboard, pick a style and play it. We're trying to encourage you to add a few little things that will make it not only more interesting for you, but more interesting for any listeners you have. And it's this thing of self-satisfaction. The more of those little things that you can implement into your music, the better you'll feel about yourself. And as Andy said, 3/4, 4/4, it just made me think of a song. We did a webinar about this before, actually, which was Fly Me to the Moon. Almost everybody knows it as a 4/4, either as a swing or a bossa nova, but actually, originally, it was written in 3/4. It's just that it works so well in 4/4, that's almost become the norm for it now. So yeah, lots of examples out there. All that remains for me to do is to thank Andy for his time again, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks for watching. We'll both see you very, very soon. Bye for now.